Hi, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About Power BI. Today we want to talk about governance because it's a very important topic. So maybe you saw some of my memes on the weekend. So let me share my screen. This is better. So let's start with this one. I find it kind of cute. But it's also very serious because the topic is I have created an unmanaged Power BI Fabric tenant and nobody cares. So in some organizations I come into, this is the topic, very common topic because I come in and ask, so do you currently use Power BI or Fabric? And they said, no, we are on premises. And I asked, okay, then let's check if everything is fine and nobody accidentally created an unmanaged tenant. So in most of these cases, I find a tenant which is there and unmanaged. So the problem here is if you are on premises and you have already installed Office or Microsoft 365, it is able to create an unmanaged Power BI or Fabric tenant with your email address, so with your work address. So you can easily go on app.powerbi.com and that's it. So if nobody was there before, you can create the unmanaged tenant for your company. It's that easy. So please be aware of it. The problem here is there are licenses or there are ad hoc licenses which allow you to use free trials. So for example, if you want to test something, just everything is fine. But if it comes to Power BI in this case, and nobody disabled these ad hoc license, you can go in and then you can start directly with Power BI and Fabric because I also tested on the weekend some settings, so it is able or it is possible that you can create your own 365 tenant where you can play around and where you can be your own admin. And that's great because you get a feeling of what does it mean to be an admin and what does it mean to manage an environment. And I can show you. Let me open my other browser here. And you see now I have here my Power BI environment. And I started this account 3 days ago with an on Microsoft account, and I simply opened app.powerbi.com and I was directly in this tenant, and I can start directly with, for example, let's say I want to have a free trial, so I want to start Fabric, no problem. So I can test 60 days Fabric for free. Everything I want because it's a free trial for premium licensing, so for F64, and I can do nearly everything. So except Copilot, this is not in the free trial, and I guess one other thing, but I can't remember at the moment. But there's so many you can test, and this is great. But the problem here is what what will you do after this 60 days? So there is no governance, there are no rules, there are no restrictions. That means that if I go now into the administration portal, because this is the easiest way, because we have here in this portal we have over 100 settings, which you can go through every setting, and disable, enable it. It depends on your use cases and on your company strategy for reporting. So, for example, the paid features are on by default, so it's enabled by default, and you can test it. So, if you don't want this, you can simply toggle and say, no, I want. I don't want this, and I want to have a plan before I enable these button, or I will give the user directly some licenses via another portal I created or whatever. Here are also some very interesting features you can use. For example, get help informations, and you can turn this on because I find this very, very helpful. Now you can put in here your own training documentation link or your licensing request, which I mentioned before for the paid trial, for example. You can put in here your internal links, and then the people can go directly through it. If they go on the question mark above, they will find here the sources for, yes, get help, and then the others will add through this part. And yeah, this is one thing. So you have to go normally through every setting here to make sure that everything is enabled or disabled like you want it, and it follows your company strategy and the governance you set up. So there's also a very, very good documentation. If you're not sure what does this mean, this whole governance thing for Fabric or Power BI, there's a really good documentation here from Microsoft directly, so you can go through it. It's very, very long text, but I'm sure if you are go through it, you will understand. It's not that funny like my memes on the weekend, but this you should take this seriously. Otherwise, as I mentioned it also on the weekend. So let's go back. We have here, for example, oh look, a try for Microsoft Fabric. I accidentally activated Fabric for the whole company. This is what I mean with enable and disable all the tenant settings. So go through everything, make sure that everything is disabled, what you don't want in your company. Otherwise, yeah, it could look like this. Or this one is also very, very good because, yeah, a company with no governance for Power BI and Fabric, but at least they have their reports. So it's not the thing that you give the people the Power BI desktop so they can start and play with the data. You have also to make sure that the data is secure, that you have a security concept, that you have roles for it, that you have a data governance strategy for it. So there are so many kinds of things you have to think about it if you will roll out a new tool. So also a thing here, for example, this is also very funny because at the weekend I saw many LinkedIn posts where people say, oh look, the new advanced card visual, it's already here and you can use it. I like it because it's really cool and you can do fantastic things with it, but it's not helpful if it comes to your tenant settings. So if you have, for example, created your tenant before 2020, then maybe published web is still on, and you find your report on Google. So sensitive data on Google, I guess this is not what you want. So be aware of not only to look at the new shiny features you can use in the report directly, also take a look behind the curtains and see what is going on in your environment. So this is very, very important that you know what you're doing and that you have rules and that you have guidelines. Otherwise, the people will do what they want. So as usual, if something is new or is something you heard about it on LinkedIn and you will test it and you will start directly. Yeah, so of course the people will do it. If it's not restricted, then they will go right through it and start playing around with all the features you have here. And of course, I would do the same, to be honest. So if I see something, I would like to start, for example, something in Microsoft Office 365 and it's not restricted, I would go right through it and would test it. And yeah, then the problems after these test periods. So if the trials ended, so what will you do? So do you say, okay, we try the next tool or yeah, so think about this also. And if you have questions regarding this, so please reach out on LinkedIn or you can write me there a message. Also take a look into my YouTube videos regarding administration. The videos are also very short. and very funny, and hopefully they are also very helpful. Because, as I mentioned before, the publish to web topic was very, very big in between 2015 and 2020, because it was enabled by default in the tenant, and everyone could publish anything, and it doesn't matter which data, because yeah, it was switched on by default. And uh, I saw on this weekend also some reports from bigger companies, and I asked them, do you know that your report is on the web? And they write me back and say, no. I'm. Where do you have these insights? And I say, yeah, it's on Google. So this is also have to do with the governance. So very simple, very straightforward. And yeah, if you have questions, please reach out and follow me on LinkedIn for more information. And we will see us on the next stream. So bye bye and have a nice week.